Happy Wednesday morning. I'm actually surprised that I agreed to do this so quickly with Peter, but I'm happy to be sharing my Toastmasters journey and experience with him and everybody else who can see me right now. My name is Jennifer Agyeman. I belong to the East Legon Toastmasters Club. Our nickname is Legals because we believe we're made up of lions and eagles. I was actually at the meeting when that phrase was coined, or that term was coined. I joined in 2017 as a charter member, and we chartered the club on 1st of February 2018. I became a Toastmaster because I'd heard about it and I didn't really know what was involved fully. But there's a lady called Yawa Hansen Kwa. She formed Leading Ladies Network and she introduced Toastmasters to me, but I didn't join at the time. And then another lady called Maud Lindsay Gamrat. She was the first president of East Legon Toastmasters Club. Papa Arkhurst, a good friend of mine, DTM Papa Arkhurst, he spoke to her about starting a club, and then she reached out to me. And the rest, as I say, is history. This was as far back as 6 years ago. Yeah. Watching somebody like Papa and getting to know him, his passion, his leadership skills, his commitment, and we work in a similar area. He's also a trainer and a coach. I could see that if I picked up some of these skills or improved upon them, it would help my journey. Secondly, I had been away out of the country for a long time. I didn't really have a network of old schoolmates or colleagues or anything of that nature. And so joining a community like Toastmasters made me feel like I can have a tribe or belong to a network or have access to different people to help me in my business. So that's probably why I joined. As a trainer, time management is very important. Being able to deliver or model what you're teaching people is very important. I felt my level of confidence increase in my training. So from even getting content together, knowing how to speak with people, knowing how to be a good listener, even being a good leader and being organized, all of those things, I can't probably say exactly when, but over time, I felt more comfortable speaking in front of people. I was getting more invitations to speak at events, on radio, on TV. And so as I wasn't turning those things down because I now felt I had the skills to be able to deliver, it just cumulatively improved my skill set and my confidence. And I actually realized I love it. I enjoy the experience. And because I feel like I've had the training and I know what to do or what makes a good delivery, I don't have to worry about that so much. I can just focus on what I have to say. And that feels nice. That's a very good question. So I joined, as I said, as a charter member. I was the first vice president education of the club, which I loved, organizing meetings, putting together the agenda, giving out roles, and it was great. And then when it was time for the president she had other commitments, so she wasn't really stepping up as she probably would have wanted because of her business. So as VPE, I was second in command. So I ended up filling the role of president, which was fine. But when it came to actually being called the president of the club, I was unwilling. I guess I was afraid, I was nervous. I felt it was a huge responsibility. And people like Papa Arkhurst again and my club members encouraged me and said, well, actually, you've been doing most of it anyway. We can support you. The committee is behind you. You can do it. Go for it. And having people kind of put that confidence in you sometimes helps you with your own confidence because you don't feel like it's up to you alone. And that really helped my outlook of leadership, teamwork, taking the step, being willing to make mistakes, being responsible, having the title and owning it. Was an empowering experience for me. Yes. So I'm glad my team people, they did that for me. dynamic, inspirational, and transformative. Because, for example, I already speak differently, but I used to speak very, very fast. And over the course of my Toastmasters journey, I've noticed the difference. And people tell me, oh wow, your pace is much better now, and that kind of thing. Dynamic, because I've met so many people, and the exposure and the network and what it's helped me to be able to do has taken me to so many areas. I've moderated international conferences virtually. I've spoken at conferences. I've done facilitation online, in person, so many things around my work. And the skill set I've gathered from Toastmasters has definitely been the inspiration or a big part of what's made that possible for me. And so I'm grateful. I think I'm grateful for that. Yes, I do. A club member or somebody I listened to described an experience of being abused by a family member, and I felt it was so authentic, so vulnerable, and so necessary, because I think culturally a lot of these things people don't talk about, not even just here, all over the world, for so many different reasons. People sometimes feel shame, or they want to hide it, or they want to forget about it. And so listening to that speech, which would have meant the person had to revisit some of the feelings and emotions around the experience, the trauma, and I think also the impact on the audience was so profound. Like, you could just tell people were feeling for her experience. I think that was one of the most memorable ones. And I actually hope maybe as a result, she got some support. I didn't actually reach out about it to her, but I felt like, wow, that takes a lot of courage. And I have a lot of respect for the person who did that. I don't know if I would use the word wow, but I remember I went with Papa to deliver a speech at a club. Then it's no longer a Toastmasters club. I think they called it the ALX. I forgot the name of the club, but they were based around Joel. And I was so nervous. I could literally hear and feel my heart thumping. And I couldn't understand why I was so nervous. I think psychologically I put so much pressure on myself to deliver the speech, but I remember it so well. And I don't know why that was, but yes, it was one of the ones I remember. And they said it went well. I was told it went well. But I don't know if it was the environment or the people or whatever else, but I just felt so nervous. And after the speech, I was so relieved that this thing is behind me. But it just speaks to the reality of making this journey. You do it, you feel the fear, you do it anyway, and then you learn and grow from it. But yes, I think that's one of my most memorable speeches. Otherwise, I've enjoyed the process of putting speeches together. And I really have grown in how quickly I can carve a speech, which is a nice feeling. It also means I don't often give myself enough time to prepare for speeches. But over the years, I think I've built up the skill. And so that's nice, knowing that I can have an idea, I know what it takes to ensure that the speech comes across well. So yes, I remember that speech very well at that club. Oh wow. How much time do I have? There are so many. After I joined Toastmasters, whenever I mention Toastmasters, people say, Papa Arkhurst. DTF Papa Arkhurst was the first distinguished Toastmaster in Ghana. And I don't know what he's been doing, whether it's online or whatever else. He's a very physically prominent and confident person that he's unforgettable. You wouldn't meet Papa and forget about him. So for a long time, whenever I mention Toastmasters, people say, oh, Papa Arkhurst. I think that's really endearing. He's a good friend of mine, like I said. We've done work together. I have a lot of respect for him. So he would be one. I was part of the EXCO exec committee during my co-editor's term as district governor. So the group that I worked with, we became quite close and connected. So people like DTM Tony Safo, Eno, Evans, Edu Jemfi, Dr. Suzy Popolampu. We all became very close. Betty Blankson, who is my club member and is an incredible woman, very committed, great leader, beautiful journey. But also people like the first female DTM, Patricia Mensalakai, DTM, and the influence she's had on clubs like Tama Flourish, where people like DTM Precious and DTM Helena Santois, and the commitment that they've used to transform and create such a strong club like Tama, like Perisos. I admire those people. I also have a lot of admiration for Jeremy Quino, DTM. People like him and Dr. DTM Tony Safo, when they speak about what they were like before Toastmasters and what they're like now. I mean, Jeremy shares a story where somebody from school didn't recognize him and said, "Are you sure you're the same person? Because you're so different in terms of how you communicate." I think those things, I mean, I just got goosebumps now. Those people just really inspire and remind me that with the commitment and with the proven system of improvement, you can be better at something. You can acquire new skills. You can improve your confidence. You can become a leader. You can be made into a leader. However, it takes work. It takes commitment. It takes consistency. And those people that I've mentioned, I've seen those traits and behaviors in them, and I really have a lot of respect for them. I'll speak about the leadership skills. I don't want to say I feel like I'm a born leader because I don't know. But again, being a Toastmaster, and at the time when we're following the legacy program, where you had to perform a certain number of roles within meetings to get your certificate, if you can call it that, I was forced to play roles. So I couldn't hide behind, I don't want to do it, and so on. So for example, being a Toastmaster of the day, being a timer, counting people's hours, being an hour counter. Those things develop certain listening skills in you. They develop a certain confidence in you in terms of how to analyze situations, what to look out for, what to listen out for. Evaluating somebody's speech also helps you to know what makes a good speech. So all those things very gradually and incrementally come together. And as a result of Toastmasters, and I can talk about this later, I've also now become a Rotarian. And since I joined Rotary, again, I'm in leadership roles. So I think it's made me not feel afraid to take up responsibility. And it's made me feel like as long as you have a team behind you and you have a vision and you know what you're trying to achieve, I wouldn't say it's not that difficult, but it's doable. Whereas many people who don't have this kind of exposure and experience get so worried and so concerned. How can I work with people? How can I get, all the things which become noise in the background, which can negatively affect your decisions. I don't have to deal with that because I've had the experience and I kind of know what it entails. I would say be clear on why. Simon Sinek talks about knowing your why. Once you're clear on what you want to get out of it, the value it can bring to your life, that would inspire you and motivate you. I'd also say visit a few clubs. Most of the clubs now meet virtually, but if you can go to meetings physically, that also has a whole different vibe and experience. Visit a few clubs, pick the one that you feel comfortable with and you feel happy with, and just start the journey. You get a mentor. You'll be able to make a lot of mistakes and people will constructively give you feedback, help you grow. You make new friends. There's so much you can gain out of it. I mean, for example, because of Toastmasters, there's a Rotary Club which was started by Toastmasters, and now I'm also now a Rotarian, which probably wouldn't have happened even though I had it in my mind to join later. It's happened quicker. So there's so many different valuable things you can get from Toastmasters, but you have to know what it is you want from it so that it's going to be worth your time, your investment, your commitment, because you have to give speeches, you have to play roles, you have to go through the process, and it's through that journey that you will develop yourself as a speaker and a leader and eventually reap the benefits, whether you're going to be using it as I do in my work or just in your normal day-to-day life as an employee or as an individual. But I think the benefits, no, not I think, I know that the benefits are incredible. And in terms of the structure and what's offered, what we're paying, it's like minimal. And so once you apply yourself in the time, you reap your return on investment many, many times over. So go for it. It's what I would say in short. Ooh, okay, I wouldn't ask what criteria. I'll tell you the clubs which I like. So I definitely like busy speakers. Shame on you. Yeah, I like busy speakers. I just think the consistency. I think, for example, Busy was the first club to run hybrid meetings after COVID. And that's innovative, that takes a lot of work. And I've spoken at Busy. I know a lot of people who've gone through Busy. So I love busy speakers. I love what Stanbic represents because financially they've invested a lot into the community. So I think they've even sponsored people in the past to go to conferences. There's an L&D club here in Accra. There's a club in Kumasi. People like Francis AEC have been very instrumental in, helping financially to keep certain things going. So I have a lot of respect for the Stanbic team. So Busy, Stanbic. I have to be careful of my third choice now because I'm not actually, let me see. Do I have to have a third? Okay, I already mentioned Tema Flourish. I love the club. I've been to some of the events and I know the people who are keeping the club going. The commitment and the passion, it's consistent. I'm glad you said apart from East Legon, because I don't talk about my club, but those three have done a lot. The people behind making it happen, it's not happening by chance or by luck. There's an organic system, where they're consistent with, they've done things like speaker fest, marathons, like they do things which make you deliver, which creates a very strong community to come together and do things. And I would like to see that in other areas of us as a society. And I hope people can use that model to transform other things that they think aren't as it should be, because there's a lot of power in community and like-mindedness and hard work. And I think those clubs, among others, have exhibited. You said only three, so all the other clubs are also amazing in their own way. Like CS Relentless, they recently had something called The Hunt. People are doing innovative things, and I think it's good. It should encourage the community to think more broadly and have an access, even clubs like Fidelity, where Jeremy started, have also been, great. And so many of them are memorable. So yes.